Welcome, my spooky cats and kittens. Let's get into the studio, if you're not too afraid. Happy Halloween! Thanks for being here. We are going to jump right in. So we are going to be making stickers in Design Space. So first you want to make a new project. And we're just going to use a blank canvas for this. We don't need a template. So here's your canvas. And in order to get our image in there, we're going to click on Upload. And our image has already been uploaded, so we'll add it to the canvas. And it shows up really big. This happens every time I do something in Canva. I have no idea why. But we're going to go ahead and work on it now so you can see all of our stickers, and it is one solid piece. And I do need to give Create Room credit for this sticker pack. This was actually part of a drawing for a Dreambox 3. And you download the page, you color it, and then you send it back. So anyhow, that's where we got this. Now, since it is all one piece, we do need to get rid of Illustrator's signature. Design Space doesn't have an erase tool. This really needs to be fixed. So what we can do is we can slice it out. We take a shape, we're going to cover the part we don't want, we're going to select both of them, and then we're going to click on Slice, and you'll see a definition of the Slice tool here in just a moment. So essentially, we're going to cut this out using our square. Okay, I've clicked on Slice, and you can see that we have three separate parts now. We have our square, we have the part that was cut out of the square, and we have the original signature. So we want to delete those three items only. Sometimes you can use the bounding tool, but other times it doesn't work very well if one of the items is sort of within that boundary. So I'm dragging them over to the side. Now we'll use our drag and select. And you can see all three have been selected, and now we click delete. So now we have one solid image without the signature. So in order to make it a sticker, we need to create that sort of outline around it. We're going to do that by creating an offset. So the idea is we want the offset to be big enough that it creates a cutting boundary around the image, but we want it to be small enough that each image is cut out separately. It will default to 1/4 inch, and basically I just go in and play with it until it works. I believe I settle on 0.02 eventually. .05 wasn't quite small enough. You can see there are some images that are still sort of attached to one another, so we need to decrease the amount of border. And I'm sorry, this looks like it's in slow-mo. This is actually real time, and I'm going slowly so that everybody can see what I'm doing. If you're not interested in this part, no worries, skip forward to 14 minutes, 5 seconds, and that is where the crafting starts. I'm just showing you here, going through the process, and I'm sort of checking everything to make sure it looks good. If we have an image that is a cut image, not like this is a print then cut, but we can turn the offset into a cut image. And when we do that, we can go into the contour tool, which I had hovered over on the bottom right-hand corner, and we can click on items we don't want showing up. So there's a very slim sort of a line to the right of this. I don't know why, but every time I import images into Design Space and don't use the images from their Access program, this is what it inserts, and it drives me insane. I do need to contour that out. So you'll see I covered over that. Now I'm going to change the offset only, which is our border, to cut. And we're just choosing basic cut. We don't need anything fancy. You can see on the right we have our print then cut, and on the left we have our offset, and I'm circling that weird line that shows up every time. So you'll see me click on that. I'm going to go over to contour, and then I'm just going to select that line to take it out. You can click on the images over here. I find it easier sometimes to just scroll through the menu on the right hand side and click the box instead, especially if it's something really small or slim. And there it is. Click on it. You can see that it's now much lighter than the other pieces, meaning it isn't going to show up. We do still have some items that are sort of connected together. I will go ahead and just manually cut those if I want to use those images. We can't contour anything out of a print then cut image. That's what I'm trying to relay right here. We can only do it with a cut image. So since we are going to merge these two together, I want it to be the correct color. So I decided on a dark gray. I'm going to go ahead and center these together. And I'm doing a bounding box right now. So you can see one is a print then cut and then one is a basic cut. What we're going to do is we are going to flatten these. And what the flatten tool does is it basically makes everything one image. So our stickers are now going to have borders around them, and that will create the borders for the Cricut to cut out. If that doesn't make sense, you'll see what I'm talking about later. Now everything is print then cut, and they're all one image. So you can see that it's too big. We have an image size cap, and you'll see a little bit later why that is. So you can either change the paper size if you're using something bigger, and you would need a larger mat as well. I'm not going to get into that now. Or you can just resize it. So you can see this is where you would change things. Everything is already set to what I want it to be set to. My sticker paper is 8.5 by 11. And I will be using the 12 by 12 mat. Okay, so we click make. Here's our next screen. Now, this is where you can see the cut area. Now, there's little indentations on each corner. Those are saved for registration marks, and that's how the Cricut knows exactly where to cut the image that has been printed. So those are key. You have to have those in there. That's why it makes the cut area smaller. So the first thing we're going to do is send it to the printer. And you always want to use your system dialog. You do want to add bleed. That just means that the color is going to go a little bit further than it would around those images. And so when it cuts, we won't have any weird white areas. So you now need to address the system dialog. You're going to need to drag your Cricut window down. And there it is. I have no idea why it always pops up behind, and it's embarrassing to admit how long it took me to figure that out. So I'm just selecting the media type, the kind of paper I'm using, and where I'm going to be feeding it from with my printer. Your printer is going to look different. You're going to have different options here. Okay, and I'm clicking print. That screen that showed up shows you those registration marks, and you can see them here. So it's really important to have those. And I am placing that clear UV laminate over these, and that will make these waterproof. I'm using a matte laminate because the Cricut tends to have issues reading those registration marks if they're under something glossy. You can use glossy laminate. You would just need to potentially use a Sharpie to go along those lines, and you'd want to use a ruler for that and be very precise. I have done that and it does work. We need to find the material we are using, and there are several options. I had to go through them to kind of figure out which one we were using, and I did click on material settings because I found out the hard way the first time that you have to increase the pressure in order for the Cricut to cut through both the laminate and the sticker paper. So we are looking for the Printable Waterproof Sticker Set White, and you can see the pressure right now is set to 235. Sorry, the image is really small that I'm looking at. I'm increasing that to 325, and that does get the job done. Now, it was already set to cut 2 times, so it would go around everything 2 different times. I should not have turned that off. It needed to go around twice, but I'll show you what I do to make that happen. I'm going to click done. Those are my bookmarked items that I use the most. So I will need to search for I thought it was the first one I hovered over, but it is actually this one that we adjusted cut settings for. So I do select that. Click done. Now, you can see it's prompting us to put that laminate sheet over. We already did that, so that's fine. I, with my machine, have to always select more pressure. You may not. All Cricuts are slightly different, unfortunately. Okay, and it loaded it. I'm going to press go, and you can see the little light. It's reading those registration marks now. I do turn off my large overhead light to reduce glare. Once it reads it, I can turn stuff back on. And I thought I would let you see how it's cutting. You can see that paper towel tube at the bottom. Unfortunately, some areas of the mat don't lay as flat as others in the Cricut, so that helps. Now you can see here, I am trying to remove them. I choose the button because I'm not going to use that, and I can see it didn't work. So I did not unload it. You don't want to unload. I just went ahead and I hit that play button again, and it cuts it in the exact same spot. And you can see there that it worked. And I'm using my handy dandy Tech Wrap Pin Pen tool for weeding. It's fantastic. I don't actually need to weed, but I do need to pull off those protective layers on my acrylic blanks. So those blanks are actually clear, but it has the white protective layer on it that I need to remove before I do anything else. Okay, and I'm just spreading the glitter out. The surface tension of the resin will keep it at the edge as long as you don't mess with it too much. I do end up messing with it too much on one of these, and I had to do a lot of extra work because the resin went over the side and down the little hole for the keychain. I'm adding in some holographic stars, and I do also add some glow-in-the-dark 4-point stars. You don't actually end up seeing those because I end up putting a second layer of glitter over this. It just, with the UV resin, you can't pack it full of glitter. Here I am, popping bubbles. If you pack the UV resin full of glitter, it won't actually cure all the way through. I'm placing my stickers now. And you can actually see the Cricut cut kind of off. I'm really annoyed by that because I just calibrated my machine to cut something else, so I really don't know why I would need to do it again, but apparently I did. I just roll with it. One thing I don't show is that when I'm off camera, I do end up putting this in front of a fan. It comes out pretty hot, and of course, if you put more resin over something that's hot, it's gonna lose that surface tension and just drip right over the sides. All right, we're on to the next one. And I'm gonna use some cabochons I poured.
But it really was. I mean, his peers, his teachers, they thought he was a pleasant, smart individual.
Yeah.
He was getting good grades. He did go on dates with girls.
I don't end up using those back. And I do make several of these. I don't show you the entire process for all of them because that would be really boring for you. So I do use the UV resin to adhere these bat wings to the keychain blank. And I go around it with the UV resin. This does take some time. It is not a super fast process, so these aren't items you could really make in bulk and have them this intricate. So it is Halloween, and I need to give a shout out to Mr. Kitschy. Happy anniversary, honey. We did get married on Halloween. We had our civil ceremony Halloween 2018, and there we are. We gave the people at the courthouse a really good laugh. I couldn't believe the other couples there hadn't dressed as zombie brides and grooms. It seemed like a no-brainer. See what I did there? Zombies, no brain. It's okay, you can laugh. I won't tell anybody. Anyhow, we also did have a public ceremony in July of 2019. All right, now I decided to do some neon, and I used these awful neon paints. I do not recommend these. They are so transparent. There really was no point to doing what I was doing. I ended up having to take it off. I painted white, and then I put the paint back over it. It still was too transparent. So I actually, in my materials list, recommend a different set that I think work better. The prior glitters used were from Mr. Nola's Supply Co. They no longer carry them. I did provide alternatives. This glitter is from Glitter Heart Co. And check in the description. I do have discount code for you there. And now I'm adhering another one of the cabochons to it. The mold I used was actually a fondant mold, so it's a matte mold, and I really like how that turns out with the black resin. Skull is on the front, and I want to put the bones on the back. These are, of course, larger than the round I'm using, but I kind of like that. I really like the way it made it sort of 3D and popped off of the keychain blank. This ends up being one of my favorite keychains. All right, and here are some other cabochons I used. Different mold, it was shiny, and it's got a debossed effect, which has the writing and the images you would see on a Ouija board planchette. So the easiest way I found to fill this is to rub paint on. I'm using a silicone spatula here to really get it into those areas and to go ahead and wipe it off before it dries. I do end up going over them twice. The debossed part is really small, and so it's kind of hard to see. I wanted to make sure that I really filled that in. And this next one is using the neon green from Glitter Heart Co. And this is such a pretty color shifting purple from Mr. Nola. Ooh. I do have an alternate item in the materials list. I really like the way this turned out. It was a little messier than I'd planned. It came out in sort of globs instead of a stream of glitter, but I just used my silicone tool to go around and kind of spread everything out. You don't actually see the middle part anyhow, so it was fine. And now I'm attaching those cabochons. Again, just using that UV resin to do that. I ended up ordering 3-inch rounds because the 2-inch rounds were too small for almost all of those stickers. So those came in, and I'm going to use them now. So I have this really pretty orange holographic glitter. That's going to be my base layer. And on this one, I believe I used the red moon and the jack-o'-lantern. Okay, I've done 2 coats of that, and now I'm ready to place my stickers. I have cooled it off as well. Now, when you put stickers on things like a tumbler and you're using an epoxy that takes 4 hours plus to cure, you definitely need to seal those in first with matte spray, sealer, glossy spray, clear coat, varnish, something. But in this situation, The resin cures so quickly we don't need to worry about the items lifting, so we don't need to do that. And please don't ask me why I put these on sideways here. I just wasn't paying attention. Still cute, but kind of wonky. All right, and it's time to attach those keychains. So I do some with the regular round keychain part, and then some I do with other shapes. It took me a really long time to figure out how to get this jump ring in there with the bones, but I do manage it eventually. Because these are clear acrylic blanks, I don't actually need to do anything on the back side. The glitter will just show through. And it's pretty much just like putting jewelry together. Pretty easy. All right, and they're all done. I really like how these turned out. They were super fun to make. I had a great time being creative, and I hope everyone likes them as much as I do. Thanks so much for being here, and happy Halloween! Thanks so much for watching. Stay spooky, kitschy cats and kittens. I'll see you soon.